Welcome to today's episode of CLCI Live, brought to you by the award-winning and ICF accredited school, Certified Life Coach Institute. Sit back, relax, and enjoy today's episode.
And today we will be discussing coaches and why coaches can be scary, particularly why they're scary to maybe potential clients that you may be interested in. And I think we're going to discuss I feel like we're going to go along the lines of discussing some rumors that come up in the life coaching realm. And we're going to try and dispel some of those and maybe give our opinion as to why those may not necessarily be true. So with that being said, I think setting the stage by asking the question is probably a good idea. What do you guys think scares someone most about that word, life coach? What do you think scares someone when they hear, you should probably go get a life coach? What do you think
I think that Anthony should answer this question first.
I hear, oh yes. The first thing that I used to think when people told me that, about life coaches is that they're immediately going to try to recruit you into their pyramid scheme. They're going to try to sell you a whole bunch of other stuff.
Somebody explain to me the pyramid scheme. Explain this, because I've never thought of it or known it to be a pyramid scheme. How is it a pyramid?
Essentially, you make your money by recruiting other people into your grift. So life coaches only make money off of other life coaches, and then those life coaches make money off of other life coaches. It's just this sort of repeating process where it's like you're not actually doing any sort of work or benefit for anybody. It's just sort of this machine that sort of tries to self-sustain itself.
But so my big question there would be, if nobody's getting any benefit up from it, then why is anybody doing it? Like, just because for funsies? Like, why?
It seems, that was my impression, and a lot of people's impressions, that it's a quick, easy way to make money by not offering any value and not.
So there's no actual life coach work being done.
That's like as much fantasy land as anything, like, because that it's completely illogical when you break it down. Because at the end of the day, people are not going to hand you money for nothing. Like they're just not going to. I'm just going to give you $500,
like,
and it's
the imagined value.
But,
like you can say that life coaching is going to do all these sorts of wonderful things for you, but in a lot of people's minds, at the end of the day, they think it's just like fake therapy. Essentially, that's what a lot of people are scared of. That's
another
fake, expensive therapy that doesn't really do anything. And you could have done yourself.
And it's been depicted in the history. There is a show that had one of the first life coaches on it was not a life coach. Oh my God. far from what an actual life coach is. I saw there's another one, a little sitcom where the mother, I don't know enough because I haven't watched it. I've watched like a show or something and they called her a life coach, and I'm just thinking, holy Toledo, no wonder everybody has...
No wonder we have a bad rap.
No wonder. I mean, the way that they're promoting it is as if, we were just born and now getting out and coaching and telling people all kinds of things what to do. Well, I know some people are when they're not trained, but those of us that are trained know the difference.
Well, trained how? Trained in what way, though?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a lot of training out there that is different from what we train, which is ICF, International Coaching Federation certified, courses that follow sort of a stricter moral and ethical guideline, as well as our core competencies that sort of put very good guidelines on what is and what isn't coaching. And so the research that you submitted today, Brooke, a lot of those blog articles I was reading, and one of the guys, Jason, he used to be a former life coach, and then he's like, I'm going to go back to graduate school.
Yeah, I read that one.
I looked him up. He wasn't ICF accredited in any sort of way. And everything that he said about coaches was essentially a straw man argument. Like, they took the worst examples of coaches and was like, that's why you shouldn't be a life coach. You could take the worst examples of any profession and say that's why you shouldn't.
Yeah.
shouldn't do that. But yeah, that was my first impression of life coaching. That it was
I know
just
it was. That's why I asked you to go first, because when I first talked to you about it, he was so like vehemently opposed.
which even now, if you tell me that you're just a life coach, like that's what you are, the life coach, I'll make the same face as this guy, which is this. Like, I want to know what is your niche.
Yeah.
You're not just you shouldn't be just a life coach. You should be a relationship coach. You should be a this or that coach. Like something that's more narrowly defined and targets a certain niche, because that gives me more
Yeah.
that gives me a better impression that you know what you're talking about and that you are comfortable in your profession, um, rather than this very broad term of life coach that really anybody could just call themselves without any sort of training.
Yep.
And this is of course prior to, and that's the other element there is that a lot of people think that well, I mean, really not a lot of people know what the qualifications of being a life coach is, and really it's funny. It's one of the things that I talk to our students about. They'll be coming through and they will speak between, well, do I have to get credentialed? Do I have to get certified? And my response is always, well, you are confused as you move through this space, right? There's a lot of initials. There's a lot of knowing the difference between credential and certification. So imagine your client who is on the outside and probably equally as confused, if not more so. Um, so they know enough to ask about certification. They know enough to ask about training. So that is really truly the first step there, is to get that first leg, so that then you have that. But I find that with the training and everything, a lot of times it's for the coaches, and their confidence, as much as it is for the client as well. So
Well, I mean, you could make the argument that a coach's confidence is for the client at the end of
yeah,
the day.
sure, it's all for the client at the end of the day. Yes,
Yeah.
of course.
I guess that's true, isn't it? Well, it's for both of them, really, right? Because it gives opportunity for self-esteem for both sides of that fence. Experimenting.
There was another leg of this. It was J.K. Rowling.
Oh my goodness!
About a year ago, she does not like life coaches,
Oh
and
my
I've got
gosh.
to look up her quote, but it was something.
It was
I
harsh.
pull up her quote.
Really? I have not
Listen,
I
heard
I
think
don't
it was
have
2
good
years ago,
opinions
but
of J.K. Rowling in the first place.
Yeah,
She
she
does
was
not like the coaches.
quite brutal.
So if you're a life coach, who's on here implying that people are losers if they aren't learning a new skill, building a brand while in lockdown? Maybe stop. People have challenges you know nothing about. Sometimes getting through something is more than enough. So that was like sort of its spark, but she has since put out several other, like, life doesn't come with coaches unless you pay for one, and like, but she's not a very big fan of coaches, but her impression, right, of that is that coaches are somebody who they're gonna force you to work and do goals and goal setting and be on you and basically push you when you don't want to be pushed.
Ooh,
And
which
that's
isn't
sort
the
of
case.
I think that's a fear that people have when it comes to coaches.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's that generalization that is at the forefront of a lot of the fear that people may kind of receive from thinking about potentially getting or even considering having a life coach, is that there is going to be someone across from them, again, pushing them, potentially doing things that they're not necessarily ready for, which is not the case, again. And I also believe that there is something, one of the articles I read prior to someone actually hopping in and she took a 2-day training, where she kind of went through.
That was the Vice article. Yes.
Yes, exactly.
And she took a 2-day training that was not a free 2-day training, and that's how she learned a lot about the life coach. I was like, I don't know.
Well, it's great. I mean, originally, prior to her taking that training, she thought that it was just someone telling you, as a life coach, pretty much how to live your life. And that, again, is, I think, the biggest one that we may be missing. I don't know if we kind of brought that up just yet, but that seems to be someone who doesn't have any idea about what life coaching is, or that realm, or that, that general space, is probably thinking, again, a life coach is going to tell me how to live my life or suggest how I should be living my life, which, again, absolutely not at all what a life coach is.
Where do you think that comes from? Why do you think it is that people
It's those 2 words, I think, really. If you have no general knowledge, again, or if you haven't been in that space of life coaching, hearing those 2 words together just suggests that life someone, or especially with, I think, coach comes first. As a coach, we all grow up kind of, sports, for example. A coach kind of tells you how to play the game. Well, that term of coach kind of suggests that there's someone that's going to be there,
Yelling at you at the
suggesting,
sidelines
yes,
with a whistle, like
exactly.
We really should have a different term for it because
carrying a clipboard
literally
and throwing things, like
the first everybody's first encounter with a coach is a PE coach, pretty much in the Western
Yep.
world. We should probably just come up with a new term for it. Coach is a bad
what
one.
would you call coach? What would you call it? Question mark. I'm an examiner. I'm a life examiner.
Life reflector.
A life auditor. A life.
A life enhancer.
Oh my goodness.
A life partner.
We got to get a good
I don't
one
know.
and trademark.
If you're watching this and you think of a better term for it, go ahead and use it in your marketing. You'll probably.
I don't think
really well
I don't
for
think
yourself.
anybody will have any clue because I think it's a lost point. The word coach now it's a $1 billion industry.
Yeah.
It's not going
Yeah.
anywhere, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So maybe PE coaches should stop calling themselves coaches.
Mind you, though, there are
Anybody
it's
sports industry,
not
knock
just,
it off.
we can't just blame the PE coaches, though. We can't. We
Yeah.
have to blame also, and it's not saying we have to blame anybody, but we have to address at some point the fact that there are a lot of people out there that are gonna tell you how to live your life, that are gonna say, I'm a coach and I'm here to give advice and I'm here to tell you what to do. And that exists. And honestly, coaches market that way. I don't know if they do that behind closed doors, but it's okay if they market that way, to give tips, tools, and help. But I think that big defining line sometimes gets blurred because of that.
Well, and I think that's probably where a lot of the bad rap has come out from. That coaching concept is people have hung shingles, pretended, and maybe not pretended, maybe they truly believe that they were truly trying to be helpful and really weren't helpful. They were coaching or whatever their client into a place where it wasn't them, it's not who they are, it's not even in their wheelhouse of what they wanted. And yet that coaching towards that direction was happening because I have the advice and I'm going to tell you what you should and shouldn't be doing. Uh-oh, kitty.
I know I had one of my lanterns fall down. I don't know why the shade snapped. I'll figure it out later.
So, telling people who they are and what they're doing is not what we do. We help them discover, right, who they are and what they want to do. Kind of a different framework of how we approach and work with our clients.
In that space too of the ones telling, do you guys know of any horror stories, things that have happened that maybe when a coach was not coaching and maybe something went wrong? Has ever had anybody, or maybe it's you yourself, ever given advice and then had it go horribly south? I've had a few of those moments. I've learned the hard way, but not in a coach.
I've definitely had my fair share of undesirable coaches in my life, and I don't mean life coaching. I mean throughout high school and middle school. Not the greatest coaches on earth. I think the definition of coach is someone that assists you in whatever it is that endeavor may be. Specifically, probably I would say like I played football. So just for an example that is reasonable, and I can go ahead and bring that up, would be that coach did not assist. He kind of he gave you orders. It was more like a drill sergeant. Like, this is what you do. You go do it. You don't do it, then you're on the bench or you're off the team type deal. And that is, I think, especially for someone who's just growing up, a really bad way to kind of mold them as ideally a good player in that situation.
I think also if we take coaching instead of a profession more so as a skill set that applies to people, interacting with other people, you've got like counselors, you've got, teachers, parents, any sort of mentor, your boss, employer, like a whole host of people that in life in general telling you what to do or trying to give you advice in such a way where it's just unhelpful. Like, there's probably, billions of people out there who have that one person in their life who was advising or coaching them or just plain out telling them what to do, and it wasn't good for that person. So coaching, as the ICF sees it, gives you a set of skills to help that person figure out what's best for them rather than being told by someone else what's best. Um, so any horror story where it comes from a authority figure telling you what's best for you when it's really in their benefit, that's might as well be a coaching horror story at that point.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at an article from Forbes, and it says 9 great reasons to hire or not hire a life coach. And so the first ones it lists that, and I'll just read them through and then we can discuss why not to hire one. I want someone to fix what's wrong with my life. I need help with deep-seated psychological issues. I'd like a wise friend. Those are the 3 it gives. Why not to? Now, to hire a life coach, it gives something wonderful has happened, something terrible has happened, nothing is happening, and I want to make something happen. I mean, I think is kind of a great way to look at what the coaching space is. It's kind of a smart way of laying it out, right? We don't do the psychological issues. The wise friend is interesting. So, what's the take on the wise friend for you guys?
That's the wise friend who knows you well enough, is going to tell you what to do, and they think they understand who you are and what you've gone through versus finding out the direction you want to go. So they think they know you too well.
And probably visiting them. I'm sorry, go ahead, Brooke.
Oh, no, you're fine. What's the damage there is my question.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're probably visiting them just because you feel like that's someone who's going to give you the answers that you already know you want to hear. A bit of an echo chamber, if that's someone who is a wise friend, as a friend, someone who isn't necessarily indifferent, they're probably going to give you what you want to hear, and you're probably going to go to them because you want to hear.
I don't agree with that necessarily. Because I have enough people in my world that they don't tell me what I want to hear a lot of the times. But they will tell me what their opinion is of what I should be wanting. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I just think as a friend, maybe not. So, aside from being a coach being indifferent, ideally is kind of what you're looking for in a coach.
Yeah.
You could potentially go to a friend on a day where they're just drained and, you're kind of looking for their opinion. They maybe don't have time to tell you something that, you may not want to hear because, again, as a friend, I feel like you kind of have a little bit of an obligation to not always, give someone a right or a left hard jab. Even though, I wouldn't say a life coach would do that, but they definitely give you a kind of a space to be, again, reflective rather than, again, potentially not getting at all what could be beneficial to you, and that might be advice or not advice, but a reflection or advice that isn't necessarily true to whatever scenario you may be dealing with.
Yeah.
So, in another space here, here are common fears for people who, or just maybe misconceptions for people who don't, as to why they may not hire a coach. So, one is, they feel like they know it all already. Like they've got everything figured out. Why do I need a coach?
Well, I mean, just that alone, like if you don't feel like you need a coach, then don't get a coach. Like you've already at the finish line essentially of coaching, which is not needing a coach. In my opinion, if you don't feel like you need one, then don't get one. Like it's not for you.
The other one is you don't want to be held accountable. And that kind of gets that like I don't, I'm not ready for change. That's like I'm not ready for change space. You're just not in there, so you're not going to hire a coach because I don't want to be held accountable. I'm worried the coach will force me to do something I don't want to do.
That's a big one.
Nobody can force you to do, unless the coach has like captured you and held you
is holding you hostage.
Like that fear just doesn't make sense to me, that you're being forced to do something you don't want to do. And also with go on.
I've watched some other coaches, shall we say, who are kind of famous, and they do exactly that. They'll have
names, Lisa.
No, I'm not naming names.
Drop names right now.
They'll have people stand up, bare their soul, and then be walked down a path of making a decision, a yes or no decision, and kind of get badgered into claiming
I-
a decision.
I had an experience like that, not like to that degree, but where I was in a coaching space and it was supposed to be being coached, and it was great until the moment at the end, and it felt like I was being forced, like it felt like it was being like coerced to say and go a specific direction. And mind you, I can have my own opinion in that space and everything, but there's always that people pleaser part of you that's like, well, if I'm just gonna tell him what he wants to hear and get this because I'm just okay, yeah, just get this over with. And in that space right there, as a client, that's like the last thing you want to do to your clients. And I really, it for me, I was not ever coaching with that. Like, we're not doing that again. Because it made it feel like it was about them and not me. And and then I was
Like it was them
disingenuous.
getting their
So the
win.
trust was ruined, really, on every level. Like I didn't feel comfortable. It didn't feel safe, like a safe space anymore. And then followed by the not feeling like a safe space. It now, like, I'm like, well, now you have an agenda. I don't get to have one, right? And that's not fair.
Name the coach.
What?
Name that coach right
No,
now.
I'm not naming coaches.
And that's that space of the coach working harder than the client, and then when that's being felt by the client, that's a really terrible space to be in.
Well, it wasn't with bad intention. It wasn't going to lead me down, but it was just that moment where I was able to be me, and then now I'm not able to be me fully anymore because I have to be what you want me to be. Like, and that's why it's so critical in this space to just don't lead. Don't let, please, as somebody who's been led by a coach, don't lead it, because it makes it not nearly as powerful. It makes it entirely about them, and it really did ruin it for me. It did. And so that's why it's so critical. I mean, I appreciate it more than ever. It's an interesting space as a consultant too, because in that consultant space, we are giving a lot of advice. However, I mean, I would like to not. No, you've got all the answers. Go. I mean, like, because I do at the end of the day.
I had somebody one time who was an assistant in one of the classes I took, and she was telling me about what I should be considering. I'm now trying to think about how she worded it. It was in such a way that I was kind of a brat. And it wasn't intentionally being a brat.
You a brat, Lisa.
Not intentional being a brat, but yeah, had a bratty response, and I'm like, "Ooh, that was very nice of me." But at the same time, telling me what I should be thinking about, like, I'm not sure who you think you are. I'm telling you what I want to work on, and here you are telling me what I should. No, that's not fine.
Yeah, I think that summarizes like the big fear when it comes to hearing life coaching or what a life coach is, and there's that misconception of exactly that space that you just mentioned. That's what's going to happen, and that is. I feel like most people, they don't want to be in a scenario where someone's telling them, especially if you're. I guess there are. I think there's that gray line where again, where tons of a bunch of different opinions can kind of come in as far as again what a life coach what life coaching actually is, because again there's coaches that you do pay that you want them to go ahead and tell you kind of what to do, like a trainer. I guess you can consider that a coach. And then there are coaches again that you as maybe you would kind of want them to assist you rather than actually lead, which it can just get all muddied together and make things really complicated and again scary in that situation.
I would say, like, there are times when I would just don't want to think. Like, I just want, but that's about like very like small detail things. Like, it's like I don't want to think about what shirt I'm gonna wear today. Like, if and I just like to have somebody there to say, okay, put on the blue shirt. Because then I don't have to think, because I expend all my energy thinking in other spaces that I just want to shut it down.
Why
right?
do you think I only wear all black clothing? So I don't have to think about anything in the morning. Just slap something on and it matches. Here's I think a legitimate, maybe not legitimate, but a understandable concern that people have about life coaching, and that it's admitting defeat, or it's like life coaching is only for losers.
Any self-help space, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm shocked.
I don't want to, like, I know there's a problem, but I don't want people like family, friends, bosses, employers to know that I'm seeing a life coach, because that's essentially just admitting I suck and I'm a
Oh,
loser.
I'm
And
still so
Oh
shocked
my
by it, though. I'm
gosh.
so
Yeah.
shocked by like people who feel like, and it's very much prevalent in the male gender. Like this is a very kind of masculine. I'm not going to say always, but I think it falls just because of gender roles and everything on that side of the fence more than it does the female. And that's that, like, it's admitting defeat. I'm asking for help. It means I'm not strong enough to handle it on my own. I've got to like do it, just bear down and go. And like, but I think
never
that's so
admit
absurd.
defeat.
Like, I'm still shocked when I hear about people razzing anybody else for getting any kind of self-help. Like
Yeah.
why would
I-
people
yeah.
do that? It's
Well,
so
not even
stupid.
self-help. Like, what if, for example, you work in a company that promotes life coaching, like they have like coaches, or they hire out coaches, and you screw up, and your boss is like, okay, like we're gonna have, like, your boss, or God forbid, human resources, like, okay, like we're gonna have you sign like this verbal like thing, and then we're gonna get you with a life coach to, like, or a whatever coach it is for the business. We're gonna get you with a coach to, like, sort of fix your behavior. Like, that feels crappy.
Yeah, maybe
Maybe
that's
Well,
where
don't
that
use
fear
life
comes from too.
if you're in a corporate structure. Maybe don't use life coaches as a
well,
stand-in for disciplinary action.
there was an
Use it as a
article.
way to, like, improve, like, all the good things that
Well,
are
that's
going
not.
on.
See, that's the problem with that is it's not. They're not doing the coaching on their own. It's not them making that conscious choice. They're being forced, and
Yeah.
you're forcing somebody into coaching. When you're doing that, it's going to be a more difficult space. Like there was a judge recently that ordered criminal life coaching. I read an article on, and I wonder how that's going to go. And maybe the criminal's in his face and he wants it as a thing, but if he's not, it's not. No, it's going to be a fruitless effort for everybody involved. Which is
This-
interesting.
I
I'll find the
want to hear
article
more.
and send it to you.
I want to hear more about this.
I'll find the article.
Judge. Maybe our life coaches could get some business
But beyond
working
that,
with
though,
corrections.
going back to your previous point, I still
Mhm.
think it's how do you break that conception that is ingrained in our society and in most societies, honestly, that it's a failure or a defeat
Yeah.
if you are taking time out to
Yeah.
ask for help or work on yourself or get a coach or get a therapist. Like, how does one? I mean, what is the first step getting rid of that?
I
You
think.
shouldn't.
Sorry,
go
go ahead, Anthony.
I was gonna say, you shouldn't even maybe conceptualize coaching in that space. Like, it's not something that fixes a deficiency. It's something where you want
People
to
aren't deficient.
accelerate growth.
Like you can't. I think that's where it starts, though.
So it's
That's
like,
where the problem starts. Is people aren't broken. Like
well, think of it this way. You don't. Most people typically don't see getting in debt for, like, an education or a house or a business. They don't see that as a failure. That's just a necessary part of growing
or
and,
hiring an assistant or
yeah, setting yourself
or
up for the
staff.
future.
So if you have thought of your coach as a staff member, right, as
Mhm.
as a critical element in your business's growth, in your life growth, if it's like a personal trainer, I think there's not a lot of people who hire a personal trainer. This is like your
No.
success personal
Yeah.
trainer. Like this is,
And if you want to, like, go the distance and
teacher.
become the best, like, reach your, like, peak physical, like, ability, you have to get to work with somebody. Like, there's not an Olympic athlete out there who's not working with somebody to go
Love it.
that extra mile.
And maybe
and
that's why we call it
essentially-
coaching.
Oh, perhaps. But, people don't see it that way. They see it as a stand-in for a therapist or a counselor or something to
that's
fix a sort of
Well,
deficiency.
Not what we do. That's such like
It
that's
isn't,
such a
but there's
huge
been
misconception.
too many people that have done that and moved in that
Well-
space and thought that they were entitled to be in that space because they've lived it, breathed it, sleeped it themselves. So therefore, because they're qualified based on who they were or are and have come through it, that's where that misconception comes from. a good portion of it, not all of it, obviously, that we are not out there to give therapy in any way. We are there to provide that trainer kind of space that you were mentioning, both Brooke and Anthony, that support system that allows that person to really discover, uncover, go through whatever direction they want to go through that doesn't have to do with therapy.
I
It
would
has
say
to.
just really I want to say I would say a really good way to kind of shift that mindset of it rather than being a space of you fixing yourself, view it as what's really kind of opened the door for me to kind of understand exactly when I was first figuring all about life coaching and what it actually meant. Rather than seeing it as a space again where you're not fixing, that's not what we're looking at here. It's a space of maintenance, you know. It's just like going out and getting some, you know, just to compare it physically, going and maybe getting in a quick jog. It is something that
Putting
is
gas in the car.
exactly
Looking at your map.
absolutely
Eating
things
food.
to again to keep you
We
you
all
know,
use Siri or Alexa,
Mm,
or we've got our navigator that we.
I'm a
But
man. I don't need that.
um, yeah,
We
go
have
ahead.
we've got a question from
Real-
Facebook user. I can't tell
Yeah,
on
before we really
your
quick,
oh yeah.
like here, I'll pop it up here. But the other thing too, I think part of the reason that we get lumped into that self help fixing space, even though that's not really, we should be living in a much more professional kind of space than that person. Even though there is that personal growth element, but I think a lot of that comes from like coaches who haven't been trained. Their marketing is targeting depression. Their marketing is targeting these very real things that people are feeling, but they're actually in truth not what they do. That's not what a coach should be hiring. Somebody should be hiring a coach for. Being stuck, yes, but being depressed and being all, that's not what coaches treat. So I think a big part of that misconception is coming from that piece of coaches who don't know what coaching is and are again still putting it out there. So how can we get the word out there of what coaching truly is, and how can ICF become that's not us, that we have no help. We can't do anything with the ICF portion, but that's entirely up to the government.
I mean, I'm on board with being an ICF fascist and just like saying if it's not ICF, it's not coaching. Like you cannot
Oh
call
no,
yourself
it's
a
a
coach.
purist, a
unless-
coaching purist is
Yeah.
what you are.
I prefer the term dictator, but you know.
I
Um,
think that's one of the answer that's what we part of our reason to do these lives is to help other people in a fun way. We're trying to keep it a sense of humor and to some serious stuff. I mean, it's technical and it's kind of serious, but fun added to it, and help others understand what we're doing and how it makes a difference. And you can do that too. You can put out there, just like we are putting out there, what the difference and the transition is. So the more people become familiar and aware, they'll be more critical thinking about who they work with, but in a good way, not in a way that says, you guys are just hanging shingles, you guys don't know what you're doing, you guys,
That's a great segue. One of the things that I'd love for us to talk about in this space is maybe not the horror of working with a coach, but maybe the horrors that a coach that deals with regard to stereotypes that are applied to coaches, like the well, every life coach is somebody who just doesn't have a job and is looking for something to do. Like so that exists out there. What other life coach stereotypes are there out there?
this close to like you're just like riding the edge of woo woo and new age quackery and
Like
like
I'll
just,
do it. Yeah, that is
you're
totally
like,
that is.
it's just I mean, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of coaches who also do that stuff, which if that's your thing,
there's a coach for
more power
everybody.
to
I
you.
mean, that's
So this is a great way of Psychology Today puts it. It's fluffy, saccharine, nonsensical hoo-ha. Is one of the stereotypes. And I like, okay. But it's actually, as Lisa mentioned, a very technical thing. There's the exact, and it's something I explain on the phone a lot. Is it's a very specific thing that coaches do. It's a very specific skill set. If you're following ICS model, it is very specific thing, and so that is what you're learning. So you can put whatever you want in front of coach. What really matters is that word coach. I don't care if it's his life. I don't care if it's his spiritual. I don't care if it's his health. I don't care. It's that word coach is a very specific thing, and that's what you're learning when you take a course or get certified. Is what that how to be the coach, not how to be the health coach or the that's the different class essentially.
The fear though that I think on the customer side is that it's like there's a lot of pseudo-scientific, pseudo-psychological sort of stuff. Again, this is my personal bias here. I'm not going to, put the blanket on all of CLCI, but like I personally am not a fan of NLP stuff. That sort of rubs me the wrong way a little bit. And when people say they're NLP coaches, that sort of
So what's funny is I'm going through. These professionals make their clients do strange rituals, like to put them in a trance or making them walk on hot coals, which might be a little bit in that NLP space that you're speaking of, which is not the case. Nobody's putting anybody in trances. Nobody. What's an NLP coach? Well, NLP stands for Neuro-Linguistic Programming.
yes,
and would anybody else like to take that, Lisa?
So it's a different way of interacting, a different way of using words. It's a form of hypnosis.
It's essentially using your language and in order to elicit different reactions or responses from other people.
Some people have called it Jedi mind tricks.
It's closely linked to like manipulation and things like that, but it's also been debunked in many ways.
Yes, that's my key takeaway. Where they assert scientific claims or scientific papers that support their things, but the research shows otherwise, and it's contested. I'm not saying that it's completely false, but there's not enough evidence where I think that it's legitimate, so I just push that sort of to the more woo-woo category.
Sounds like gaslighting. It's kind of so but let's say this: we're all being NLP'd on some level through through any marketing, through anything you're getting. This is something. It is in many ways neuromarketing. All of it's being just growing up and learning how to talk to people. We are learning what to say and how to behave in order to elicit certain reactions from people.
But this is also a good example of just like all the sort of terms and technical things that people don't really know about. Like most people don't know what NLP coaching is or NLP is. And then you have people trying to explain it. And then eventually people trying to sell you on it. When you yourself, who as a prospective buyer, you don't have all of the answers in front of you. So that leads to a lot of confusion, where if we're talking just strictly coaching and the skill of coaching, that's easy to understand. And that's very easy to get people on board with coaching, is that you ask questions and you're trying to get answers out of people that they already know the answers to, and you're getting them to do the work, the client, to find answers to problems and sort of achieve their own goals.
Another fear, we're leaving the stereotype realm a bit here, is that there isn't anybody out there that can help me. There isn't anybody out there that I'm the right match for. There's not. No coaches out there will really get me, or I don't get them.
Well, that's the great. I mean, I want to say that's a great thing about coaching. I feel like a really good way to dispel some fear around coaching is, people have asked me, what is life coaching? Those who may not know what it is, and I'll let them know that pretty much the purpose and the goal of a life coach is to get you answers that only you can give to yourself and you have the right answers, because no one else in the world can actually go ahead and tell you what you need, because they don't live your life. They're not in your shoes. They're not experiencing things that the way that you do. And again, a coach's job is to get those answers from you that maybe you just necessarily couldn't do so yourself, which I think is, again, no one has to. A coach doesn't have to get you. They probably shouldn't at the end of the session, 100% understand you, so long as you are getting,
Can
some type
anybody
of,
can anybody ever 100% understand you?
yeah,
No.
I
exactly,
don't even understand me.
Is that even a possibility?
yeah.
Um,
It's not the job of a coach is to understand you. Again, their job is to ask you the right questions so that you can help better understand yourself, which again I think is beautiful. As that session.
another fear is that, well, what if I don't want to have to work too hard. Like I don't want to, like I want to be able to I mean, if they're going to turn me into this goal setting machine, it's all I'm going to care about. My free time and life is going to go away, and I'm going to be miserable at the end of the day.
I would ask that person, what are you like even? Why are you like even wanting a life coach in the first place?
Well,
Like, what?
this is just
I
one.
mean, if that's the fear, like, what do you actually want
But
then? If
now,
you
on the
want
other end,
change,
though, there is that fear does exist because people are afraid of reaching their goals. They are afraid of success in many ways.
Well, and I'm not going to design you to be anything you don't want to be. I mean, I'm not here to design you. This is up to you how you want to proceed. If you don't want to be tied up into a bunch of goals, then let's talk about what that's going to look like as you want to play out your life. You want to achieve this. How do you build both pieces together and so that you're feeling like you're living life and not just doing life?
Well, it's really up to you. You know, if you want to come in and sit in the session and just twirl your hair for an hour, and that's what I ask you that question. That it's all you. Go for it. This is what we're doing for the next hour.
also, if I was your coach, I'd ask you, okay, you want to be successful and happy, but you also want to be lazy.
No,
How can you? Well, this is hypothetical. I would ask, how would you do that? Like, how can we get you to that point where you have
Today,
your free time
twirling my
and
hair.
also
We do
are
it.
successful? Just work that into coaching, not in those terms, but work
Yeah, no.
whatever weird goal that is to coaching and try to get them to figure out how they can do that. And if they can't do that, then maybe they'll reevaluate their goals and find something that's more realistic.
So here's a horror story, kind of for something that I think all coaches. This is for the coaches. This is for you, the coaches. That going out there, and and sometimes I don't even know that it's a horror story that they know that they're going to be dealing with. Like it's a big hurdle for coaches outside of what we've been talking about, and that is that coaches don't offer a tangible item like they it's sort of this be more fulfilled or this live your life purpose, but these are concepts that a lot of people don't get. Really, you can't apply it to your day. Like when I wake up and get out of bed and I'm brushing my teeth, I can't I don't I can't wrap my head around fulfillment in that moment. So it makes it more difficult for a coach because of, like, even as with what we do, what our clients need is a certification. It's a physical thing. We hand them, they train, they get a certification, they walk away with this tangible thing. A coach has a much more difficult time, unless, I mean, there are spaces that it is easy, that ROI is easy to prove, but it's harder for a lot of them. And that's, I think, a big hurdle for coaches that they often have trouble conquering.
I
What
don't
do you say to that?
I don't know if it's more difficult. It's just I think it's often overlooked because we talk about fulfillment and happiness and that's like sort of the goal. But I don't think enough coaches actually ask their clients like what is fulfillment and what is happiness? What does that look
What does
like
that
for
look like?
you? Let's get down to the nuts and bolts of this very broad concept because it's going to be the return on investment is going to be different for every single
But
person.
that's in the session. I'm saying even before the session. I'm saying like that marketing piece, that big marketing piece is really big hurdle for people to jump, because how many people are out there paying for fulfillment? I mean, really, like, no, we're paying for our groceries, we're paying for our phones. How do we take this thing that coaching is very beneficial? It is a service that can make life exponentially better, easier, in so many ways. How do you communicate that value in a way that people can understand more tangibly?
Well, isn't that why in like the lunch and learns we sort of
Yeah.
drill down as to what are the actual benefits that coaching with you gets? That's what we talk to the students because a lot of the times it's sort of up in the air. I'm a coach who will give you fulfillment and this and all that good stuff. But what does fulfillment look like? What is the actual benefit versus all the other extra
Well, and
features?
the brilliant thing, Lisa was telling me about a woman that people used to go to her, like, big group, I guess, talks or whatever, and she'd give them like a little pin, like a little flag pin, and people
Heart pin.
heart pin. That's what it was. Who was it?
Barbara DeAngelis.
Oh, she's brilliant though. Like, in my head, I had firecrackers going off and lights turning on, because she took this one little tangible item that people would go and they wanted to collect them. They wanted to have the heart pin. They wanted.
You put a heart on
little
every
pin,
one. Yep.
but it became a physical object, a physical representation of what they had done, what they had gotten, and that became that tangible memory in that pin. And it's brilliant marketing, and it's a brilliant way to sort of get past that hurdle.
I think I held on to mine for 20 years.
See, and it's just a pin, right? At the end of the day,
No, nothing. It's nothing. No, nothing. It's just a memory attached to work I did. and then we would collect those little hearts and put them on our pins, and you could see everybody who'd been through multiple. I mean,
but it's brilliant, right?
I agree.
It's leveling up.
It grounds that whole experience for you. It's super cool.
And so I mean, honestly, in the simple way, it's a horror story for coaches, but what a creative way to get past that. Even whether she did it deliberately or not, it's brilliant.
I had started when I started teaching. I had put something like that together and made a little thing to give away to people, and they loved it then too.
Yeah, no, everybody, like, I'm having, it's gonna be like video games. You're gonna have levels. You're gonna get various armor, and so that you can wear it around.
I mean, that's kind of like why we do digital badges as well. Like, just having something there is such a reward.
When we switched to virtual, that was one of the first things that I had said. Like, Lisa, we have to do an e-certificate. We have to give it to them on day 3, because they have to feel like they got something, like they accomplished, they had their certificate, and they got it on day 3. And that's really why we created the e-certificate. And I was like, okay, we're gonna have to email these out, because I knew that was going to be very important for them to have in their hands when they graduated, for them to feel like they had accomplished and it had completed the goal, essentially. So that might be something that coaches take with them. Like, when you hit milestones with your client, give them something, representation, whether it's or maybe you have their client create something that represents that milestone that they have accomplished as that reminder of the tangible ROI.
I mean, Alcoholics Anonymous even has their little tokens as well.
It's all of that is psychological. It's amazing. Yeah.
So in my office, I used to have a bowl of little crystals, little oddly shaped crystals and rocks and different things. And if somebody asked me about them, I would tell them they could choose one that represented their experience. All kinds of little tidbits through the years. Yeah.
Any other reasons, as we're wrapping it up, that people should be are any other horror stories of coaching? Horror. Well, there are tons out there. I'm not gonna. There have been, when we say coaches, and the horror stories typically don't come from trained coaches. What?
I've got one. Let's say I'm early 20s, maybe just got out of high school, maybe just got out of community college.
No way.
And
Nobody believed in that.
And I want a career, and my family wanted me to go into a real profession. They wanted me to be a doctor or a lawyer or,
Mm.
Already, here's the
work at
problem,
a
though.
corporate job.
You're not acting
And
for yourself.
well, hold on, let me continue. And am I even going to make money as a coach? That's a fear.
That's a big fear. That's like, how am I going to make? How am I going to? Is it going to be worthwhile? And it's a business. Like I'm going to tell you, you'll get it out of it what you put into it, and you believe. You can charge anything if you believe in it.
Yeah.
Well, you can charge anything, but statistically speaking, and this
No.
is kind of under the radar, but like the median income for coaches, I think, was like in the range of 50,000 to 65,000, and then it kind of goes up from there. But you get fewer and fewer coaches going up to the triple or the six-figure range. But it is an actual living that people make all the time.
I will
Which
say
I
though,
don't think it's highlighted enough.
it depends too. Like it's a lot of people who are going out to be coaches have other jobs. They have other things, and they're doing this as a secondary source of income because it's a fantastic secondary source. Because I can still set my hours. I can say, okay, I'm going to coach from this time to this time, 4 hours a week. But the thing that a lot of people aren't considering when they go into that, and they still have another job, and is that this is building a business most of the time, and building a business. If you talk to any business owner, it's around the clock work. And so if I have another job, the time and energy you need to put into your business is probably not going to be as present as it would be if you were focused on and you had to make it work, right? It's a difference. When you're hungry, you have to figure it out. Like you have to find food.
Yeah.
You have to. And so you're out there figuring out, you're hustling and figuring it out. And it can be until you do. And then once you do, it's like, oh, okay, I got it. I figured it out. And now the wheels are off and life is good. But there's always that period that's very kind of,
Yeah.
But if you don't have that drive, like that like fear kind of pushing you, it would be harder for me to begin and have a successful practice, I would think. But
business takes, whenever you do any of the research, it's 3 years, right?
If we're lucky, it's 3 to 5. And
Yeah.
honestly, you're looking at
Yeah.
the percentages. In startups alone, I believe like 82% of startups fail. They all,
So this isn't to put a fear in you guys
now
about
we're gonna make
coaching. This is to make it a reality that you've got to work it. You've got to put energy behind it. It just doesn't magically happen or get granted. Poof, it happens. You have to build a practice, which some of your ability to find your language and your niche and all of the things that we've been talking about can feel a little scary. And yet part of building any business is going to contain these same elements. What is your passion? That's what you're going to work on instead of a job. So working and building your passion, that's the golden ticket.
And I think a lot of people go into this thinking it's a quick fix, an easy fix. It's a easy alternative. But the truth is, it's with anything. You're gonna get out of it what you put into it. You will.
The quick fix, if you will, the quickness of it is once you realize the tools and the techniques work, the quick application of it in your daily life and your daily walk and your daily connections, that is instantaneous.
Anthony, are you thinking? Anthony looks like he's very deep thought.
I would say I bet you guys, I'm assuming here, but you guys, I'm sure, have received calls where, you'll have someone, prospective student, who calls in and asks, how are we guaranteeing success after, they actually go ahead and get their certificate? And do you guys typically have a response that you would give?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, and we also get the other one we get too is do you have numbers on how many of your coaches are successful? And my response is always, well, first and foremost, I don't know how you define successful. Yeah. So I don't know how to tell you how to define what is and what is not successful. And I think that it would be a question on many levels that is a personal thing, and how do they define success? And that it's a very gray space to live in.
Mhm.
Also,
My response would be, you can look at our reviews, and everybody seems happy.
and also, we don't guarantee success. We
you have training and a
guarantee
certificate.
if you take levels 1 and 2, we guarantee 65.8 training hours that are ICF accredited and a certificate.
Success is
and
up to
class
you.
time. Yeah, that's
There's no way to guarantee anybody's success. I'm sorry. It just doesn't exist. That's
I
personal.
can't imagine walking into a college or university and going to the person and be like, how can you guarantee
success?
success? Like, that just is
And
not
yet,
If I
others
pass this test, will I be guaranteed success?
other schools are touting that. I don't even understand how they can tout that.
no,
No, they do.
it's just it's irresponsible and unethical
It's a
to
lie.
guarantee that kind of thing.
It's just a
Yeah.
lie.
Now, mind you, successful. I mean, it depends on who
Yeah.
that is, and success is a very. There's so one of the things. The term overnight success drives me nuts because. First and foremost, it doesn't exist. It's total fallacy. It doesn't happen. There's nothing there to support it. I mean, you might have somebody that like blips up really quick and then they're gone, but that's not success to me. That's really not. That's like you had a moment and you're gone. It's not sustained. It's not. But anybody who comes out of nowhere and all of a sudden it's it's like it feels like it is. I guarantee you they have just been quietly working their butts off, because if they're going to sustain it, you have to have the foundation to sustain it, and so you have to go through that and build that. Otherwise, you cannot support your success, and it's going to crumble.
Either that or they sold their souls to someone.
Well, that's true. That happens.
I was gonna say,
I've done that.
let's get real for a second. All of our students and alumni are successful and smart and gorgeous and
they're successful in our
wonderful
hearts.
people. Yeah,
in our hearts, they're successes.
they're successful.
No, truly.
If you're an alumni, you
graduated.
in
Yeah.
You did it. You made it. You got your 3 days. You got your hours. You can get out there and coach. You're successful in my eyes. That's success. So again, success is relative. So
Yeah, I see going through one of these classes as a successful experience.
it is.
It's personal, I guess. It's my personal opinion, but I just based off of kind of reading the room, seeing all of our graduates come out of class, I feel like they at the very least have gained some skills that help them become better people and live better lives. It doesn't necessarily always translate to you being a life coach,
Yes.
but at the end of the day, I think it's just, an experience that is successful because you're walking away with some tools that you prior to taking the class didn't have.
And the classes are amazing. I mean, look at how everybody shares throughout the class and at the end. Yeah.
There's no other space like it in the world. There's really not. It's a very unique space. Yeah.
Anyway.
No, keep going. Keep going.
Yeah, we're awesome.
Well, I don't want to.
I don't want to brag too much here.
Commercial. So, but again, that was the reason. The tagline, our tagline changed a bit. Is that it's training and it's certification, it's coach training and certification for life. Like, and that's it's for life, meaning it's not necessarily something that you will integrate into your coaching. This is training that is good for your life, period. It's good tools to learn for life, for everybody. That's the other one that we use. It's for everybody and it's for life. This isn't life coaching. This is coach training for life.
You want to be a better parent? Do some life coaching. If you want to be a better religious leader, do some life coaching. If you want to be a better criminal, do some life coaching.
Oh, wait. What?
What was that last one, Anthony?
Anthony is trying to be paying attention.
To make you better, whatever you decide to do.
What did you say?
I said also criminal.
Okay. Yes.
Whatever you decide to do, you're going to be better at it because you learned life coaching.
Yeah.
Yes. True. All right,
So
we're
even
done.
the bad
Though. It's been an hour. We're over time.
Real time,
We can talk all day
100%.
about coaching. Apparently, we love ourselves. Yes, we're not at all narcissistic.
We know we're the
No, but it's true.
SH word.
Honestly, we believe in our product. We love what we have, and it is. It's beneficial. I don't care who you are, and I don't care if you get the training from us. Go out and take an ICF accredited class and learn a skill set that is different and a new way to communicate. It's awesome. So, all right, I think that's it. Right? Hashtag real talk.
Hashtag be afraid to say that you're a life coach because you know better than the rest of the people who don't, and you know how to show that in your life.
All right. To those of you watching, this is CLCI Live. We do this every Tuesday at 4 o'clock. If you wanted us to talk about anything, if there's anything you have questions about, anything of that nature, leave it in the comments and we will read them and get back to you. We may even do an episode about it, or just say hi and we'll say hi back.
We probably will do an episode about it. Go ahead and drop
Yeah,
it.
if you're an alumni and you want to join us too, just ask.
Or just say hi. And then Lisa, do you want to tell everybody about Certified Life Coach Institute?
CertifiedLifeCoach.com certifies you in 3 days. Level 2 certifies you in 3 days. It's an amazing training. You're going to have some fun. Come visit us. Come join us. Come revisit us if you've already joined us. Lovely to see you all again. Thank you for being here.
Yes, thank you guys. All right. Bye.
Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to today's episode. Once again, this is brought to you by Certified Life Coach Institute. We're an ICF accredited school who certifies our life coaches in 3-day online intensive courses. In addition to other podcast episodes, feel free to check us out every Tuesday at 4 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time on YouTube or Facebook for our CLCI Lives, where we get together and discuss various topics that are centered around sharpening your skills so you can become a better certified life coach. For more information, feel free to visit us at certifiedlifecoachinstitute.com. Until next time, be well.